Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're watching this on YouTube and if you're on Instagram, then hello. I have been away for a while because you know, obviously there has been so much heaviness and sadness and trauma and healing going on for lots of people, the black race particularly, in this time, and I just haven't been able to do it on social media. I haven't even, to be honest, I haven't wanted to do it on social media, not because I haven't wanted to use my voice, but because I needed to take some time to process my feelings. And at first, you know, I felt bad about that. I felt like, you know, why am I not able to speak about this and be vocal about this and get online? Because, you know, my business is online. I have made it my business to create content in the digital space, and I was seeing other bloggers and other creators being able to be really vocal about it, and I was like, why can't I do this? And then I realized actually everybody deals with things in different ways, and actually I was doing the right thing by trying to process my feelings, doing the right thing for me. And I think I felt the pressure for the wrong reasons, and the, you know, it's this performative nature of social media where people feel like they have to be doing something because it's a movement, because they need to be part of something. It's just this performativeness that I just I really struggle with, and it's why I've had to kind of pull myself away from Instagram particularly, because I just found myself getting really angry with I just couldn't see people posting their days on the beach and their picnics and their shoes, and I know that this is obviously the space that I've surrounded myself in, but where, you know, us as black people are struggling so much. I know that not everybody else is suffering right now and their lives continue and people have got bills to pay, but for me it was very difficult and I couldn't see it, and I was just questioning a lot, and I needed to take the time off and time away to deal with my own emotions and my yeah, the resurfacing of a lot of sadness. So I still feel like I'm not able to get back, I'm not able to bring the good vibes right now. I don't think I'll be coming on to Instagram anytime soon, and I just don't know where I'm at right now. I feel like I'm just taking each day as it comes and seeing how I feel, and when I'll be ready to get back to work properly. But I still wanted to just come and talk to you, and I didn't know how to talk to you. I didn't know what I wanted to say. I am feeling like now this is, I'm not doing this out of pressure. I'm not doing this because I feel like I have to. I'm now doing this because I'm ready to, I want to, and because I want to contribute to this movement, to this change, which I hope will be long lasting. And this is what I keep saying, I hope it will be long lasting. I hope that we will really have the, I mean, right now what we're dealing with is a mountain, and I hope that we can all come together, everybody, to shift this mountain, to change mindsets, to unlearn ingrained racial, racist opinions, actions, lack of consciousness, ignorance. I hope that we are able to shine a light on all that, and I hope we can do something to really make this change, and I want to contribute, and I haven't known how to do that at this point, in terms of on my platforms. Obviously I've been having conversations, like there's been really nothing else that I've spoken about, and I have been reading, watching, consuming content. I have submerged myself in this because although it's really difficult and it's something that I live with every day, there are also emotions and experiences that I have suppressed in order to allow myself to keep going, and they have resurfaced now and I haven't been able to keep going, and this time, the time is now basically. So as much as I'm trying to, you know, deal with my own stuff offline and, you know, have those conversations offline and in real life, I also want to just, you know, talk online as well. And I realise this is already really long. I was trying to keep this pretty quick, but what I thought I would do is just share some of my racial or racist experiences. And I think I just want to say why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because people don't really understand what I think people have in their heads there's one kind of racism. Sorry, let me just shut this door before anybody walks in and interrupts me. I think, first of all, yeah, I think people have different ideas of what racism is, and of course it is multifaceted, it's multi-layered, and it comes in all different ways. And I think what I wanted to talk about is I've had very overt racist experiences, and I've had kind of the microaggression. I've been on the receiving end of these kind of like microaggressive racist comments as well, and sometimes I don't even know if the comments are racist or not, and I'm there questioning, was that racism, was that? But that's the experience of a black person, is that they are questioning. And I think for me, you know, because I have spoken to other people, and black people who have not felt like they've experienced racism before, and to me that's shocking, because I feel like I experience it nearly every other day almost. And I think that's because of obviously my experiences. I have, you know, been my experiences, and also your circle. I am exposed to, I have lots of different people from lots of different races, lots of different cultures in my circle, so I have these conversations a lot, and I deal with ignorance sometimes, you know, even with my friends who might not even realise they've made a racist comment, but the most flippant comment is usually about black people's hair, and they say about our hair, well, you know, this one's got good hair because their hair is not as afro. They associate good hair with being more like Caucasian hair as opposed to being like afro hair. That is a comment that I'm sure had no malice in it whatsoever, but these kinds of comments are what we deal with on a day-to-day basis. And what is it? It's like that death by 1,000 cuts. Right now, it's like, unfortunately, George Floyd was that death, but we have been experiencing it's like poking and poking and poking and poking and poking and poking and poking, and then suddenly something erupts. And that to me was what happened with George Floyd. It was like everybody had had enough. It was in plain sight, and although racism happens every single day and we experience it every single day, it's there, laid out on the internet, on social media, for the whole world to see. It's undeniable. No one can close their eyes, no one can turn their back, and if they are, oh my god, I don't even know what kind of human being they actually are. So I thought I would share some of my experiences with racism, because I think that they might help to trigger something in people's minds, and maybe they will start to question, why did I say that, or why was I thinking that, or where did the root of that comment come from? So it's not to be attacking, it's not about placing blame. I really don't want to be in this situation where we are creating any further divide. I want us to be coming together to make this change. We have to make it all together. So, and I want to be really careful with the language that I use, because I'm not attacking anyone, and I'm actually just sharing this because, you know, my black followers, I'm hoping that, you know, we can all relate to this. And I've really taken a lot of I've done a lot of healing by understanding how other black people in this time are feeling, because at first I thought, is it just me? Why am I not able to be vocal? Why am I feeling so I think I don't even know. I don't know what I went through this week, but I have barely been able to speak. I've been waking up every single morning crying. I've barely been able to have conversations with my husband. It has been, I was grieving. That's what I feel like I was going through this week. And so I've had some people say to me on Instagram, oh, you've put into words how I felt, and that's because I've been able to read other people's expressions of how they felt, and been able to think, that's what I'm feeling, that's why I feel like this. I feel exposed. I feel like everyone can see my suffering and my pain, and I really struggle with that, especially in a space that is yeah, I just feel exposed. And I feel like now it's like everybody knows right now that black people are hurting, and that's something that for me is not easy, because I don't like people to see me suffering. I don't want people to even know that I'm suffering. And even by me being silent on Instagram and receiving messages from people asking me, are you doing okay right now, it hurts. It's sad. It's sad. I'm really appreciative of everybody that has reached out to me and just checked if I'm okay, but it's really sad to know that everybody knows right now that we are sad, and that's what I've had to deal with. Yeah, so sorry, that is like a 10-minute intro. Is that an intro? I think we're just talking right now. So so I don't even know where to start with my first racial experience. My biggest and most definitive racial experience, or racist experience should I say, would be when I worked for the luxury fashion company Farfetch. I have done a whole video on this which I will link, because I'm not going to go into the huge detail, and I have done that before. But basically I worked for Farfetch in the digital marketing department with, it was the biggest team in the company. There was 25 of us, and there was 3 black women in that team. And you know, that's the most black people I have ever worked with, let alone black women. I mean, this was like monumental, and I was actually like, wow, Farfetch is really progressive. But lo and behold, I think it was about a year or a year and a half into my time in the company that I was at this point, I think 5 months pregnant, and I was basically subjected to an investigation with the other 2 girls, basically the other 2 black girls in the company, and one of them has a disability and one of them has been in the company for 2 years. So the girl with two years service in Farfetch has a lot of clout to be able to take them to tribunal and to court and so on and so forth. Me, pregnant, is, you know, where's your duty of care? My colleague who has a disability, she has sickle cell. Again, you just don't, you know, you're doing all the wrongs right here. You don't touch 3 black women at one time, let alone because of all of these, let alone all the other underlying issues. But Farfetch went there anyway. I lawyered up immediately, and I, you know, got all the legal advice I needed. I spent thousands of pounds, and I really fought this thing tooth and nail. And I was fighting this for about a year, up until I started at 5 months pregnant, and I kept going till my daughter was 4 or 5 months old. And it was the most horrific thing I have ever experienced, because the reason they were putting us under investigation was due to misconduct. That was what the letter said. The letter I was handed said, when I got called into a meeting to be told I was under investigation. And for me, it was like I couldn't understand what I was under investigation for. What misconduct have I ever committed? But it turns out that the reason that we were under investigation was because there was a meeting that was called for the 25, no, I think it was like, so our teams were split. So there was 25 of us in the team, and I think like 10 of us had to go into this meeting to talk about basically our roles in the company were changing, which meant that there was already going to be some sort of a restructure, which usually means, you know, they're going to try and manage people out, do redundancies, something like that. So we was already very concerned for our jobs, and people were expressing their concern because we had to be trained for these jobs. These jobs weren't necessarily reflective of what our current job roles were. So it was a very, very strange time in Farfetch for my team. Anyway, so our side of the team went into a meeting that was called into regarding the negativity in the team. And this new manager that has come in, a black manager that's come in below the main manager, who's been in the company for a matter of days at this point, has called a meeting to ask us why there is so much negativity in the team. So bearing in mind there's like 10 of us in this meeting, and everybody's gone around the room and expressed their concerns. We haven't had the right training, we don't understand the job roles, we don't know if these job roles are really what we've ever wanted to do, or if we can do them. The training is horrendous, all these sorts of issues and concerns. After that meeting, 3 of us were pulled in for investigation. I don't understand why it was just us 3. And I never understood. I kind of resigned from Farfetch after I had my daughter, and I realised that it was my appeals and my, you know, it wasn't going to court, and you know, my struggle, my fight was going nowhere. I wasn't going to win this case, and so I just kind of resigned, and I was like, I never want anything to do with this company ever again. Once I'd resigned, I got a phone call from the black manager that had been called in to kind of to, you know, hold these difficult meetings with a team that he doesn't even know, and he's only been in the company for a few minutes. And he basically said to me he was told to target us, that he was told that there was a process, an HR process in place, and he thought that we were aware of the fact that we was in this process. I don't know what the process was. To this day I don't know. And he was told to target us. And when we came out of that meeting where he was asking about the negativity in the team, he said that he gave feedback on everybody. It wasn't, you know, he just gave feedback to HR and to my manager on everybody in the team. And he said that my manager was not interested in anybody else. He only wanted to know about me and the 2 other black girls on the team. So basically the investigation, although it said misconduct on the written letter that I was given, was because I was spreading negativity in the team. If you understand the state of this team, you will understand that it was very negative and toxic in the first place. I ended up having to resign from my job when I was pregnant, and you know, there's so much more to that story, which I will tag down below if you want to watch the full story. And also you can watch my colleague who has expressed her experience with it. She had a whole different experience. We all had very different experiences with it, but of course the underlying factor was it was 3 black women battling this, and I think they underestimated how hard. I think for me, I was definitely I feel to this day that these people underestimated me. They told me on a Friday that they wanted to call me into an investigation hearing on a Monday, and I have got rights to bring in a legal representation or a union rep. Where on the weekend am I going to find this person? Where? They thought they were so smart, and I was like, you are not doing this to me. To the point that the investigation got dropped. The investigation got dropped, and nobody ever. I was obviously out of the office because where I was pregnant, and I'd gone to the doctors, and the doctors had told me that they wanted to write me off for sickness due to undue stress as a pregnant woman. I didn't go back into the office for 2 weeks after they tried to after they handed me that letter to tell me that I was under investigation. So I found out that the investigation had been dropped because my friends told me. Meanwhile, I'm at home planning my case, doing my research, reading over everything, trying to rack my brain, completely stressed. And yeah, they never even told me that the investigation had been dropped. It was only because my friends had told me it had been dropped. It wasn't until they tried to, they emailed me, I think about 6 weeks later, after I've filed grievances, reports, appeals. 6 weeks later of me battling this, it wasn't until they told me, oh, well, just to let you know, the investigation has been dropped anyway. So you know I'm signed off sick from work due to stress as a pregnant woman, and you haven't thought to tell me to relieve my stress that the investigation process is over. It was honestly the most horrendous thing I have ever experienced. I hope that I've been able to make sense of that. You know, if I haven't, head over to the other video, maybe you'll understand it a little bit better. But I ended up resigning from my job. It was just really awful to experience, and to know that basically these people, they just underestimated us to the point they was like, they ain't gonna be able to do anything, they're nobodies, we'll be able to get away with this, it's gonna be fine. The thing is, they got away with it because at the end of the day we all ended up resigning and all had to face really awful consequences because of what we went through. But I think now the light is going to be shone on them, and you know, I just know that they put up their black square on Blackout Tuesday, and I actually had to laugh to myself. So yeah, that was my biggest, I think, most, yeah, that's one of the biggest traumas that I carry with me in relation to race. But I wanted to talk more about like kind of like the day-to-day racism that we deal with. So for example, like the comment I made earlier about hair. Another experience I've had is, I don't know if you all know on YouTube particularly, that my husband is Italian, white Italian, and we once, I think it was when we've been together maybe like a year or two, you know, I was like 21, 22 at the time, and we went to see one of his colleagues. His colleague owns a like luxury independent boutique in Battersea, and so we went in, and it was probably, yeah, anyway, we went into this this shop, and you know, Christians, I mean, his colleague couldn't see past me. It was like immediately we walked in, he was like, oh my god, like he at first he couldn't even fathom the fact that me and Christian were together. And he said to Christian, the first thing he said, oh, so Christian, you don't like Italian girls then? And Christian kind of laughed, and I was so angry at that response, because what I wanted Christian to say is, yes I do. Why would you think that I don't? Because why would Christian being with a black woman suggest that it's because he has rejected his own race? Why is it just that he met me and he liked me and that was that? So that was another comment that has stuck with me to this day. I've had the, you know, the one that I think a lot of us have had, which is, oh, you don't sound like a black person, you sound like a white girl on the phone. That's another one that I have had a lot. I mean, I don't know, I can't believe that people even still say that. You know, it's kind of a bit of a joke really. What does that even mean, that like, what do you assume that black people sound like? I would say throughout my career I have had to deal with being the only black person, you know, whether it's, I think at one point I was the only black person in a company, and there had been a few black men in and out of the company that I had seen being treated awfully. And then obviously Farfetch was a whole different story. I have questioned why, you know, especially like now in the industry that I work in, you know, going to events and stuff. Again, I'm usually one of the only black or people of colour in the room, and it gets to the point where it's like, I know that there are 9 billion people on Instagram, or however many people on Instagram. I know that this community is diverse. There's not only one kind of person on Instagram, but yet every single event that I go to, I feel like that black people and people of colour are so underrepresented, if represented at all. I think that's something that I'm used to, and now I'm questioning it. I'm looking at these brands' feeds that, you know, have no diversity on them whatsoever, and thinking, wow. And seeing that they're happy to give me clothes, they're happy to reach my audience, but I've never ever made it to their grid, or, you know, things like that. I think is really, really, you know, now starting to look, I'm starting to look at things like that now. And I, you know, in terms of, you know, what I do now, obviously blogging and content creating, when I first started blogging, at this point I was just posting content on Instagram. I wasn't even like, you know, I had like a few hundred followers. I literally just started out, didn't have a clue what I was doing, didn't even know there was like, you know, this massive event that happened. Somebody invited me to it, and, you know, it was an event that I paid for, bought a ticket to go to. And I was told before we got to the event, you know, there was probably not going to be many black people there. And the girl that I was going with, my friend at the time, she was mixed race. But, you know, for me, I'm quite used to being the only black person in the room, in the meeting, in my school, in my dance class. You know, I was quite used to that. So that didn't really faze me at all. And then we got there and I understood the scale of this event. It was huge. 400 people at this event. And I'm not kidding you, there was like 4 black people there. And it was, I just was like, oh my God, like, you know, this is a you know, So Solid were playing that night. I was like, how come there is, well, no, now I'm thinking, how come there was only 4 of us there on a garage night when So Solid, Lisa Matthew was there? It was like, why was that the case? You know, I mean, these are just things that I'm thinking now, you know, now that, you know, now that everything's happened and everything's resurfacing. But it was funny because at that rave I was on the dance floor, and you know, somebody came up to me and said, so we're on the dance floor, So Solid's playing, and, you know, after dancing to 21 seconds and all these songs and getting super hyped up, my feet started to hurt like hell. So I kind of was like just there like vibing. I wasn't really like dancing because I couldn't even move my feet at this point. And somebody from somewhere singled me out and came over to me and was like, oh, you must be feeling so uncomfortable. Obviously right now it's loud, So Solid are playing. Although I'm not dancing, I am trying to just focus on, you know, reliving my youth right now, my, you know, my heyday, and just getting down with So Solid. This girl's come over to me for no exact reason and singled me out of the crowd for some reason and said to me, oh, you must be feeling really uncomfortable. I was like, excuse me, I couldn't really hear her. I didn't really know where she was going with this conversation. I was like, excuse me. She's like, oh, you must be feeling so uncomfortable. So I was like, no, why? And she's like, I'm white and even I feel uncomfortable here. And that's when I was like, okay, where is this going to go? You know, because I wasn't feeling uncomfortable at all. You know, I wasn't feeling uncomfortable. It would be different if I was in an all, you know, in this all white rave and the KKK or some Confederate gang were, you know, playing the music, or, but, you know, I'm in London and I'm So Solid a place, and what, you know, being around people of different races, it does not faze me at all, because I'm from a very mixed, you know, my circle is very mixed, and I'm very used to having these conversations. And you know, but from this negative stance that this girl was coming from, I don't think anyone has ever come at me like this so overtly before. So I said to her, why would I be feeling uncomfortable? I know, I said to her, oh no. So she said to me, she's like, I'm white and even I feel uncomfortable. I said, no, I feel fine, thank you. I don't even know why you'd come over here and say this to me, and actually you don't really know me. So try to step away from this girl. Like, I'm trying to step away from this girl. I'm trying to enjoy my night. That comment has already obviously pissed me off, and I don't want it to go any further. And then she says to me, well, my friend, she would be totally uncomfortable in this situation. So I then turned and said, okay, right, this girl's not going away. She obviously wants to have a conversation right now. So I said, okay, I'm assuming your friend is black, is she? And she said, yeah, she would hate this. I don't know how you're not feeling uncomfortable right now. And I just turned and said to her, look, you need to be careful what you're saying. I said, you don't know me, you don't know what background I come from, you don't know who my friends are, you don't know anything about me, so why have you come up here and said this to me? I said, you may not understand it, but these comments that you're making are racist. I'm telling you this, and you're lucky that it's me telling you this. You're lucky that it's me that you came up to and not somebody else, because it would have been a very, very different story. And then at this point my friend overheard, and there started to be this commotion on the dance floor, because this girl, you know, she had to be called out. And then my friend went, and I mean, by the end of it, somehow even Lisa Mafia knew what was going on and came down to speak to me and was like, oh my god, I can't believe what happened. This girl somehow got escorted out. All of her friends came to rescue her, telling me about how, oh, you know, it's because she's from Bristol, or asked me, did she really say that? Are you sure? And I'm thinking, don't ask me if I'm sure. Ask her why the hell she said that. Like, why are you coming and questioning me if I'm sure? I'm sure. I know what I heard. Anyway, it was probably after Farfetch. I mean, what I went through at Farfetch was life-changing and has completely changed me at my core. But what happened, I mean, I hope that that is not reflective of the mummy blogging community. I would like to say that it's not, but every other event that I have been to now, I mean, at that point I was just buying my ticket, going to have a good night out as a mum with my new mummy friends, because I was a very new mum at this point and I was just trying to get into content creation. Now, 2 years down the line, you know, working as a content creator, and I really haven't seen much difference in terms of diversity at blogger events, if I'm honest with you. So that is another thing that I continue to, yeah, that is just another daily occurrence. Like, you know, you go to an event, you pay your money, and you know, someone is out there trying to make you feel uncomfortable and trying to ruin your night. And I know that lots of people would have left that night, have had a wicked time, and would not have even had an experience. Like, we would have had 2 separate nights basically, 2 different experiences, and that is one experience. You know, all these experiences are things that you know, black people, we have to kind of just like pack them away and pack them away. The load gets heavier, but we still have to keep going, we still have to keep functioning, we still have to keep showing up. It gets heavier, it gets harder. Then you kind of repress these emotions and these experiences deeper and deeper and deeper down, and then something like this happens and everything resurfaces. You have to deal with it again, and it's a cycle, and it's vicious, and we have to live like this every single day, you know. I am someone who is like really I don't know, because yeah, I just feel like I'm working, I don't know, I'm just, it's been very hard to come out and speak about these things because of, you know, it's different having these conversations with your friends than it is with people that aren't your friends, that you have to work with and don't know this experience, don't see this side of the industry or this side of life, because they don't live it. So for that reason, it's like I do feel like I'm exposing myself and exposing my pain, and I just wanted to talk about a few of those key experiences that I've had, because it's just like, I think it's important for people to understand, even those comments that had no intention, how they impact us and how they will stay with us forever. And yeah, I think that's kind of really all I wanted to say. And you know, we could sit here and talk about like experiences of racism for, you know, forever. But the point is now we need to move forward, and I'm going to be creating some content over on my Instagram, which will include things like, you know, my favourite black creators, my favourite black businesses, you know, these things that I hope, things that people should watch, things that people should read. And I want to do things that I've read, because I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not up to speed on the reading. I haven't read a lot of the topical current books that people are talking about. I haven't read them. You know, I did American studies when I was at uni, and I read a lot of the kind of Harlem Renaissance literature. So I've read amazing books like Passing by Nella Larson, which was absolutely amazing. Still, although they are books that were written hundreds and hundreds of years ago, are still really relevant to understanding our experience as black people. So I'm going to be sharing these lists because although I want to share my experiences, I also want to, and I do think that understanding, watching, listening to people's stories is beneficial, and it's part of the listening process for people that are trying to familiarize themselves with the black experience. But I think that it's also important to bring the conversation forward as well. I do believe that people need to take their learning offline, but most importantly, people need to learn. People don't need to be putting out posts on Instagram to show their solidarity if they don't know what they're standing up for. People don't need to be posting on Instagram, because people don't even need to be silent on Instagram if they don't feel like they need to, or they don't know why. The point is, right now, it's not about being performative, it's about learning and understanding, and that's for everyone. Like, you know, it's not about putting people under pressure, it's not about judging people on how they are dealing with it. I know that I said that I was feeling really angry by seeing people just carrying on their day-to-day lives, but you know what, if you don't care, that's good. If you don't, well, it's not good, but I mean, at least I know now what time it is, and I know where you stand and where you come from, and you know, that's it. It's the people that are doing the performing that makes it really hard for you to judge your space, because you don't know what's real and you don't know who you're talking to. I realised when I wasn't posting, and I was obviously just so under it, that was okay for me to be taking that time to process. And I was at first thinking like, oh my god, I should be creating content right now, I'm a content creator, that's what I should be doing, but actually no, people need to just do what they need to do in their real life first. It's okay to take time to learn and process. Not everything has to be documented. I feel like there's this mentality of, if it didn't happen on Instagram, then it didn't happen, but that mentality is not real. Anyway, I'm going to link my other video down below. I'm also going to link my friend's video down below for you guys to check out, and you can see her experience on the Farfetch investigation that we were under, and you can also see what I went through in more detail, because it was also for me not just about racism, it was about how I was being treated as a pregnant woman. Right now I've just kind of given you the overview of the element of race that we had to deal with, and just stay tuned to my TikTok and follow me on Instagram if you want kind of more. I'm sharing lots of black content creators, lists of other content creators, other black owned businesses. I'm sharing that, but I'm also in the meantime trying to collate my own as well, because I think people follow me because they want to hear my voice, my opinions, see my edits, and so I am working on that as well, because I think that that is important. I hope that soon, you know, we will start to see a shift, and I feel like there are lots of conversations happening in very different situations, actually, even in business now. People really are taking this seriously, and it might be because they know the spotlight's on them and they have to. It might not necessarily be because they're willingly doing it, but the point is there's a shift, and we just need to make sure that we keep pushing. And that's it, guys. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I don't know when this is going to go out, hopefully today, but yeah, I just wanted to come and speak to you. And yeah, I will, today was meant to be an ASOS video, but you know, I'll be back in my next video soon. I have got lots of content lined up, but it's just about timing right now. But anyway, take care in the meantime, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Ciao, ciao.